Are you looking to level up your author business?
Are you pounding your head against a wall, wondering what your next step should be? Then join me, Daniel Wilcox.
And me, Sacha Black, as we haul ass each week in a bid to level up.
Level up!
Come along for the ride as we delve deep into the business of writing,
Craft,
entrepreneurship,
and every level of the author journey. This is the Next Level Author Podcast.
Achievers, this is episode 57 of the Next Level Author Podcast, a podcast where we hold each other to account and track our step-by-step progress as we level up our author businesses. My name is Sacha Black, and here with me every week is
Daniel Wilcox. Hello, Sacha.
Hello, Daniel. How are you, dear?
I'm good. I'm playing with my mute because my computer's screaming and I don't want it just to hiss every time you're talking. I'm doing well. I'm doing actually really well. It's been a good week. I've slept well. I've exercised a fair bit. I've been eating well. And weirdly, that has quite a good knock-on effect for productivity.
It's surprising that, isn't it, when you treat
Strange
yourself
that.
well?
Yeah, but I've also spent a week in the midst of brain revelations, doing lots of things to invest in myself, and cutting things out. I've gone through well, not the thing is, I guess it will come down to like a way that people see things, but like by cutting things out, I've basically just completely eliminated things from my brain. So like there are a couple of projects that I've always kept in the back of my head because I'm like, oh, they're going to be my next things. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And this week I've just wiped them off my whiteboard and gone, no, I'm just going to completely forget about them. Like they're in a hidden folder somewhere, so I can, if I get to a quiet point, I can remind myself that they're there. But yeah, I've minimized a lot, and I feel like this week I've found some direction, which is good because I've long-term listeners to this show know that like I work on quite a lot of stuff, and much of that stuff is quite diversified, and I feel like really where I need to be going, I've got a goal in my head of a thing that I want to do, and I'm going to keep it as vague as that, and now that I've decided that that is the goal and looked at what I need to be doing to actually get there, it's just basically made lots of other things fall away, which for my mind is very, very freeing. For my direction is very, very empowering. And now I've just got to take the actual steps to get there and do the thing.
I think this is a weird thing about when we make decisions. I think that when you sort of solidified that in your brain, it then became very obvious to me as an outsider as well, because just you, even though you say you haven't taken steps, I can see that you've already started taking steps. And so I think, yeah, like it is amazing how when you make a decision, and I say decision like almost in air quotes because there is a difference between decision making and decision making. When you do the latter, the universe listens. And I don't want to be too woo-woo, but I genuinely believe that things happen, things slot into place. We take, action. Yeah. So yeah.
And I think what's quite nice about it is that I moved in with my parents in December to save to buy a house, and I've got like timeline goals. I know when I want to move. I'm saving up money. That's all going well. But one of the things that I found over the past month or so is that I'm like stuck in that sticky middle of like I'm doing the things, but I'm just constantly doing the things, and it's like I'm halfway from the beginning, so I've lost that initial momentum. At the same time, I'm halfway from the end, so it's just that kind of like churning and chugging along. And yeah, this has just kind of invigorated a bit more of a fire in me, and yeah, just a lot of things have aligned this week, and it's been quite a good one, because I'm also very aware that for quite a few weeks on this podcast, every week when it's like, how are you, it's like, yeah, it's just been weird. Like time is weird, the pandemic's weird, like, but no, I feel very, very good this week. So how about yourself?
Well, other than having a frog in my throat, I'm also really good. Today is the 2-year anniversary of me walking out of the corporate life for good.
Yeah, Sacha Black, everyone. Woo!
Yeah. Sacha in the house.
She did it. Whoop, whoop.
Oh, I really miss clubbing.
That gave you clubbing?
Yeah, because I heard like the whoop whoop, when you're in a club and everyone's like whoop whoop. Anyway, let's stop because this could get embarrassing.
Should we turn this into Poison and Prose? You go get your gin, I'll go get my whiskey.
Do it.
I mean, it's like 9:30 here in the UK, but
yeah. Yeah, and so I did a 1-year review a year ago on my podcast, and I wrote like 10 lessons that I had learned in my first year. And then I was like, oh, should I do a second year one? I didn't know if I'd just done it just for the sake of doing it. So I was like, yeah, fuck it, I'm going to do a second one. So I really recommend that everybody goes and listens to, I don't normally promote like my own stuff, but I do recommend you go and listen to it, because I think you will hear me having a lot of revelations and like realizations in that episode. And as a result of that review, it took me another couple of days, but I think I have also made some decisions that I also cannot talk about right now. But I've made some decisions that will change my business and will change the business model and the structure of the business and what happens going forward. Now, it's probably going to take me a year, 18 months to let some of those things come to fruition. And I thought I had already made those decisions. And this is why earlier I spoke about the 2 different types of decisions, but I hadn't, because the minute I made that decision and made that realization, I felt something. It was a tangible decision. Things moved inside me, in my soul, like the world felt different. And I always know when I have made that decision, because that is the point of no return. Now I've said it.
Yeah.
It's like the universe listens when you make that kind of decision. And so now I have to make it manifest and make that thing happen. God, what is wrong with my throat today? So big decisions and things for me as well going on this week. And I didn't have the arsehole sitting in my brain telling me I was shit this week, because I handed off my side characters to you.
Yeah, you did.
I still know there are some bits that need some work, but when I went to open it to do those bits of work before I handed it to you, my brain just noped out, and I was like, just hand it off. I was like, I can, if worst case scenario, if there are some sections I need rechecking, I can send a couple of paragraphs or a page or 2 or whatever. So I was like, just get rid of it. And then I very nearly failed accountability this week, because I had a fucking nightmare of a day on Wednesday, which I'm just not going to talk about. However,
this would be a perfect place to just insert one of those like rant clips of just you just going for it.
I know, right? And anyway, so summary is I got yesterday. Do you ever have days where some days go so fucking fast you are convinced that time is a lie, and other days that just stretch and stretch and stretch? And occasionally when the gods shine down on you, those days happen on a day that you really need them, so that you can get all of the work done. I literally obliterated and worked like a fucking Trojan yesterday to get everything done. Like, I'm not even kidding. I wrote 3,000 words. I edited 15,000 words. I got rid of 50 emails in my inbox. Like, I literally smashed out work. Oh, and then I did like a 2,000 word post edit for Ally as well. I mean, I don't know how I did all of that in 6 hours. Yeah.
Did you feed your son?
Well, I'll be honest, it definitely resulted in a KFC last night.
Oh yeah, it did. You earned it.
Yeah, I was just like, I'm done. I had nothing else. Came out of my office and Chloe was like, you look white. I was like, yes, I'm feeling tired. But anyway, suffice to say, I am full of the energy of a decision.
Yeah.
So yeah. All right, success of the week.
Success of the week is an awesome one. So this week, Nathan Scammell put, my level up is that he is now an officially published author, and he is very excited. And I absolutely love that, because there's so much grind work in actually setting up a book, but then it all comes down to just hitting that publish button. And I think that's probably one of the hardest things on your first ever book, to go like, have I done everything? Have I, checked everything? Is this the best book that I can do? And then press that button to confirm it. That's such a monumental decision. And we said this before, but I think from publishing that first book, it just gets easier. So congratulations, Nathan. Everyone give him a shout out in the Facebook group where he posted that. But yeah, that's wicked. Whoop, whoop. Clubbing.
Patreon.
We don't have any new patrons this week. That's one thing that I didn't check. I don't think we did.
well, we can check next week.
If you did join us on Patreon, we will double shout you out next week, and we apologise. But I'm pretty sure there weren't any. But for anyone that wants to get involved in our monthly live Q&As, where you sit down with me and Sacha for an hour or so, ask us questions, have a natter, head on over to www.patreon.com/nextlevelauthors.
All right, thing of the week, which of course I have forgotten to sort out. So
I have two.
Wow. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, numero number one. I watched Seaspiracy this week. Have you seen it? Have you heard of it?
No.
So it's a documentary on Netflix about basically fishing and the oceans and sustainability and all that kind of stuff. And the thing that I found the most amazing about it was like this 22-year-old UK dude. And, you know, lots of people will come across bits of information and be like, oh, that's interesting, and not chasing things further. But essentially, he started off just wanting to make a documentary about how amazing the oceans were. And then he ended up sort of falling into this rabbit hole of, in 2019, Japan reintroduced whaling, which was globally banned like 20 years ago. And he was like, oh, well, this isn't good. Found a nugget of information about a bay over in Japan in which boats were basically driving pods of dolphins into it and then slaughtering them. And then was like, oh, that's really weird. And most people would kind of see that on the internet and be like, oh, I wonder why they're doing that. But he basically just went up to his girlfriend and went, yeah, pack your things, we're going to Japan. Flew over to Japan, and that particular area of Japan is full of, like, there are coast guards that stop people from taking pictures. The police are in on it, like, in terms of just stopping anything being recorded, because obviously Japan doesn't want that to be shown to the rest of the world. And then I won't spoil the whole thing, but it kind of just goes, oh, and then like another question raises, and he follows that and goes into like bluefin tuna, and then he goes into like shark fin, and he goes into this whole thing about how the MSC blue tick labels on sort of safe fishing products actually bullshit, how the dolphin safe labels on tuna are absolute bullshit, because you can't actually prove that no dolphins were harmed in any sort of fishing ranks, and how basically it just really makes you reconsider a lot of how the fish products that you get are brought onto the table. And like that documentary, coupled with the David Attenborough Our Planet that I watched, they don't paint a very good picture for the future, really. Like the David Attenborough one sort of talks around like 2040, 2050, 2060 and what will happen if we carry on as we are. And Seaspiracy talks about the fact that basically the oceans will be irreparably fucked by 2048 unless things changed. And you sit there and go like, we have sons very, very similar ages who are going to be in their 30s when that kind of thing happened. And it's like, yeah, so for people who are interested in that stuff, I definitely recommend it. For people who aren't, I still definitely recommend it, because I'm pretty sure it's going to affect all of us in the long run. Soapbox down. My second thing is actually related to the kind of decision-making stuff that we spoke about earlier, which is I have been accepted onto a sort of exclusive coaching mentorship program for like this podcast that I've basically become obsessed with over the last month or two. And I'm very excited about it, because it's essentially 10 people who are going to be collecting together on Zoom calls. There's sort of like coaching from a guy who has coached Olympians and Forbes 500, Fortune 500 companies. And at the end of it, there's going to be like a retreat where we go away to this cabin somewhere and just do like whitewater rafting and things. And I'm very, very excited about that, because I think I don't know if I've said it on this podcast, but I've definitely said it to you a lot, is that I've been looking for some kind of like mentorship, some way to like invest in myself that helps me go to that next level. And this is one of the steps that I'm taking to get there. So that's exciting.
That is exciting. I hate whitewater rafting. They have at the old Olympics. So, you know, in 2012, we had the Olympics here, and then they had like a, I can't remember what it's bloody called, something Valley Center. Anyway, that was clear. And I took Chloe because she loves like water sports and things. And we had these like boards. They're like foam board thingies, bodyboard things. And you like go through the rapids on them. No.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like you're just yourself and this foam board that you like put your hands in, like it makes you look like an arrow. And then you go down these rapids. I did one and I was like, yeah, fuck this, I'm getting out of the water, which was a really expensive like £100 that I spent to be in the water for like 10 seconds. But if you don't, it was a very sharp reminder of how powerful water is, because if you are not comfortable, if you panic, it sucks you under. And I panicked and I got sucked under, and I was like, yeah, no, I'm getting out. And the thing is, I'm a really strong swimmer as well, and this is why I'm like, water is so powerful and so dangerous. Even me, who is swimming is one of my sports, like I'm a really strong swimmer. I'm not like fast or anything like this, I just have a strong body to swim.
But swimming in like just a still pool is a whole different experience.
No, but even in the sea, like when we go abroad and stuff, I swim in the sea and things like this, but rapids are not for me.
Fair.
You have fun, honey. It is fun though. Chloe came out and she was like glowing from joy of like the thrill and adrenaline. Yeah, she was like, I want to do it again. I was like, okay, off you go. Bye now. I'm gonna sit here with my book. But anyway, so that is super exciting. I am genuinely like almost tingly with excitement for you because of what this might bring. And I think it's really important that coaches get coached as well.
Yes.
You know, just like therapists have to go through therapy. I think it's really important. So yeah, I'm like genuinely excited for you for this.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Okay, so the thing that I have enjoyed, I didn't realize quite how much TV I've cut out of my life. But I really have not been watching TV like this year. And obviously I've substituted that for books, which is why I've read so many books this year. But Leigh Bardugo's Six of Crows and Shadow of Bone series were merged into a Netflix series called Shadow and Bone. It's got 8 hour-longish episodes. And I pre-read Six of Crows in advance so that I could watch it, because otherwise there would be spoilers. And if I watch a film before I read the book, I won't read the book because I don't like rereading. And it was phenomenal on so many levels. There are a couple of really interesting things for me. Usually I do not like translations. I think they're shit and they never do the book justice, right? But in this instance, I almost liked the show more than the book. I know, I have never ever once said that. And I'll tell you the reason. I think, yes, hello Kitty. I think she's tapping me for strokes. I think one of the reasons is that a couple of the actors were amazing and they embodied the characters so well. They sparkled in a way that was almost better than how the characters were in the book. I mean, they were just they were the characters in the book but on steroids. And I don't know if it was the actors, like Jesper. I just loved Jesper in the show. And the other thing that I really enjoyed is that these two books, Shadow and Bone and Six of Crows, are set in the same world, but they have different characters and they are at different times. So Shadow and Bone happens first, Six of Crows happens later. To merge those stories was so interesting and so fascinating structurally, and the elements that they took out. So Shadow and Bone was relatively what's that canon? Relatively canon. Is that the word? You know, when they stick to the okay, fine. But Six of Crows was the book that they changed the most, the storyline they changed the most. And it was very interesting to see what elements they kept and what elements they changed, and how they merged those stories. And I came away thinking about that in terms of series and world building and how you set more than one series in a world. I just found it fascinating, and it was a really fucking good show. And Chloe, who has not read any of the books, equally found it brilliant. So yeah.
Nice.
All right, weekly confessional. I have to get this up because I don't know what I was supposed to do.
I was starting my marketing stuff for self-publishing blueprint launch, which I've been doing. I've put images together. I have created lists of people to contact and places to kind of start going out and formalizing a lot of things. I've got all of the books on Ingram and all the different platforms. I'm just waiting for them all to populate, and then I can start hardcore just promoting that bad boy.
Oh yeah. Was that it? Was that all you were supposed to do?
Yes.
Oh, I don't suppose you have mine there because Facebook's not loading.
I closed Facebook. I'm pretty sure yours was finish editing the side characters workbook.
Yeah, I feel like there were two things though.
Bow,
Bow, and in
Let's
this
do a filler.
interlude, I'm
Bow,
opening Slack to see if I can find it in Slack.
Oh, yeah.
As
one thing I
always.
will add as well that I didn't put into my well, the two things actually. So one thing that I also enjoyed a lot this week was I ran a book club through my Horror Writers Collaborative Facebook group, and we read Home Before Dark by Riley Sager, and it was just really interesting. Number one, I've never led a book club discussion before, and number two, the people were just fantastic. Like, they were engaged, they were fun, like there were differences of opinions, but people rocked it, and yeah, that was a whole thing. And number two, I will quickly throw in there just a reminder that the Next Level Authors Level Up Challenge is still going. It's not too late to join in. You have until the end of June to commit and complete the thing that you said you want to do. And if you don't, you can eat a mouthful of cinnamon, motherfucker.
Right, I've managed to get it
send
open.
off your book to the CPs.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say I've got it open now using Chrome instead. So yeah, I will edit the side characters workbook and send the main book off to critique partners. I did both
Look at
of
that for a
those
filler.
by the skin of my teeth.
Mhm.
I will never again.
The fear on your face yesterday. You're like,
I was
I'm
literally like,
I'm going to fail.
I know. I was like, I cannot fail. I will not fail.
I couldn't sleep. I was so excited. Like, and now I'm tired
such an asshole.
for no fucking reason. Like,
All right, weekly comments. What were your comments from last week, Daniel son?
so the question was, what have you learned from your recent work in progress? And we had Caitlin Duncan, who said, I learned how to circumvent the dreaded drafting part of my process by pushing through a quick skeleton/skinny draft before getting to the good stuff. And I know you're a big proponent of that at the minute.
Mm-hmm.
CJ Dainton says, I'm twice the author I thought I was and half the editor, which I friggin' love that, like recognizing where their strengths are. And I did actually try and nudge in the comments today just to find out what that looks like, because I'm really interested to know how you get to that sort of revelation. Carrie put, I've learned that sometimes you have to change things up in order to get things to work. I outlined more like a skinny draft, back to skinny drafts, 4 books in the series so far. But I got to book 5, spent 3 weeks giving myself a headache, and finally gave myself permission to pants it. It's so far working. I don't know how badly I'll have to edit yet, but words are being written. I think that's quite key and fundamental to understand that even if you think you have a process, sometimes a book will just demand different from you, and to recognize when you need to just give yourself permission to just try something different.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for all the comments, guys.
All right. Question of the week. Okie dokie. Yeah, I know. That's what I was trying to encourage you to do. Okay, so question of the week is, it's like a try question. How do you handle negativity, rejection, and bad reviews?
Okay. I feel like, well, I kind of have mixed feelings on this depending who it is. So, and I'll explain. So, negativity, bad reviews, and what was the third one?
Rejection.
Rejection. So I've never been rejected in my life. No, that's not true.
I can reject you right now.
So one thing I have noticed this week is I've just got self-publishing blueprint back from the proofreader. There's a real mental struggle when I get feedback back from like editors or proofreaders, because immediately my body goes to, what's my book? What do they know? Like on such a weird, visceral level that I don't understand about myself, because they're right to question it. And like, I'm a person who, any feedback is good feedback in some way. Like whether I choose to accept it or not, that's entirely up to me. But
Absolutely.
actually being armed with that knowledge of, okay, this has been highlighted for someone, means that it could be highlighted to someone else, and it means that, you know, it challenges what I've put down and what I can then develop and make stronger. But I found myself quite embarrassed when I'm like going through these. It's just tiny comments like, should this be this? And me going, no, otherwise I would have put that, wouldn't I? And then just going, yeah, it should be that actually. And it's really weird because that feeling only lasts for like a few seconds, but I think it's that when it comes from a professional, it comes from a real vulnerable level. You understand that these are people who are practicing that profession and that they do have valid points. And I think that when you're writing your book, or when I'm writing my book, I feel like a lot of what keeps me moving forward is I put up this armor of what I'm writing is good, because if I drop that, it then lets me fall into like self-doubt and slows me down and makes me like question the things I'm doing. So I plow ahead, and that's kind of like one of the ways that I get things done so quickly on that first draft. So when it comes to professionals, I have an initial moment of resistance, and then I let myself think about it. I let myself mull over that process and just go, okay, like, is what they said valid enough on my, because it has to be weighed either side. And I think that's a tough thing that people get from editors, or sometimes it's hard to understand, is that editors, while they do go through your book and they do highlight things, ultimately it's your book, so you can still decide what you do and don't take from an editor. By all means, take a lot of the advice because it is good advice. But some people, I've had people come back and say, well, the editors changed this and I don't think it's necessary. And I'm like, but it's your book. So is it necessary enough that you want to fight that battle? Is it necessary enough that like you can go back to your editor and say, like, here's what I was thinking with that. Does this need to be changed in your opinion, or seek a second opinion? When it comes to general negativity, I tend to, again, I armor myself as much as I can, because I've spent I was actually talking to some people about this last night, but I've spent a lot of the last sort of half a decade coming to the realization that, number one, I can't fix everyone, because I've always been a fixer. I've always been that, and I will find a solution and I will help you through the thing that you can do. And also the concept of claiming personal responsibility. So I accept the fact that if someone's going through, or someone is negative around me, whether they're sort of complaining about like their life or whatever, it's something where I've had to understand that like it is their issue to deal with, in like, which sounds harsh and is contrary to like everything that I grew up knowing, but it is their issue to deal with, and I can do my part to kind of help in some way, but ultimately I don't lose myself in that negativity as much as I used to. And I try and as well to surround myself with positive people where I can, and people who are like getting things done. And I've very, very deliberately prescribed to the you are the product of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So I try and spend the most time with people who inspire me, people who challenge me, people who
crack
make
a
me
fucking
better.
whip and tell you to get the fuck on with it, sunshine.
Exactly, like it's helpful. And because of that attitude, some friends have fallen by the wayside, but like I'm on a path to like get better, and that's what I want to do. I think it's inevitable the negativity will affect people anyway, and I have down days, I have days that are harder, especially when it comes to we've had it on this podcast with like the pandemic and everything else. But there are like 3 words that I heard, I can't remember where or when, but they just stuck with me for years. So whenever I'm like feeling a bit shitty, or like I'm reading, or I've got like that horrible feeling from reading a bad review that does pass, like the 3 what no, it's forward, this too shall pass. And it's the whole notion of whatever you're in is temporary. And like, even if you're like having a shitty time, even if you're like in a bout of depression, like there is light at the end of that tunnel. And sometimes you've just got to like stick with it, and then remember that you can't have the good times without the bad times. So I know I come across positivity is high on my strengths, and I spend a lot of time forcedly looking at the positives, but yeah, I think negativity is inevitable. And then when it comes to good and bad reviews, I think the only way that ever affects me is if the negative reviews, number one, well, arguably every negative review is valid, but for me it's when the negatives outweigh the positives. Like if I've got, as I was just checking this morning, I've got like 70 something reviews on When Winter Comes, and 80% of those, 85% of those are positive, and then there are some people that haven't enjoyed that book. I will sometimes look at the negative reviews and be like, okay, is there a sticking point that I can actually use to inform my work, or is it just people whose it's just not their taste? And one thing that I've picked out of that over previous books that kept coming up as a thread that initially I ignored was that some of my books start off quite slow in terms of the world building and getting to, meeting the characters and the action starting. And when that pops up enough, that's actionable. I can change it. I can do something with it. But I try not to spend time just dwelling on I just really didn't like this book, because that's not useful for me. Like, I want to use as much critical, informed information to help me get better. And so you learn what is and isn't useful in that regard. But yeah, I think just in general, it's definitely been a long journey for me of trying to balance that positivity with the negativity. And I went to I've been to a couple of counselors over the past few years for different things, and one thing that I did learn from one of them was that I did use my positivity at one point as an armor. And I'm trying to think of the best way to explain this. It basically was to the point that I would then not allow myself to feel other emotions, because I'd always be looking for that positive. And sometimes as a human, you do need to feel that connection. You do need to feel that low. Again, you can't feel the highs without the lows. And I'm kind of, I'd argue that I'm pretty stoic in the sense of, like, life is inevitable. Like, all the things that you're going through are just, I don't know how best to explain it. I haven't really had like the time to formulate this thought process, but like, I do prescribe quite strongly to stoicism, but at the same time, there is an element of now, for example, like when my rabbit died last year, I actually allowed myself, once I buried her, just to sit there for like 15 minutes and just feel, which I hadn't done before, because I would have just gone, she had an amazing life, and like, it was her time and this, and then you just move on. But yeah, just allowing yourself to sort of unlock and feel those different emotions. And because I always worry, I realize I'm going on with this one, but I always worry.
It's interesting.
Yeah, I always worry that I'm going to lose that positivity and plummet into depression, because I've had like a couple of depressive episodes over the past like decade. But in fighting to not have that, I was then denying like my humanity the chance to breathe. So yeah, I'll leave it there. How about yourself?
That's so interesting. I feel like I touched on something a little deep this week, which I love. So this is really interesting. That last thing, I use humor and sarcasm as a defense mechanism.
Me too.
And yeah, no. So like also I tend to use like self-depreciating humor as a defense mechanism quite a lot as well. I'm always, I don't really want to talk about it, but yeah, I tend, like, also because I don't like to feel certain things, and I just refuse to feel those things. And yeah, so I definitely understand that. That is probably where a lot of my dark humor comes from. On the positivity, I find this really interesting, because lots of people don't think I'm positive. And because I can, like, people, so like Chloe's always like, oh, you're so negative, and I'm like, I'm not though. And I think there is a difference between positivity and optimism. So I am incredibly optimistic.
Yes.
And I think that comes from my self-assurance, because like, I will make a decision, and then that is fucking it. I know, no matter what happens, no matter what is put in my way, I will do that thing. And that is both optimism and self-assurance, and it portrays itself as positivity. And so I have some people who look at me and go, oh my God, you're like well positive, blah, blah, blah. And then some people who tend to see me on a day-to-day basis who are like, oh my God, like you're grumpy and negative again. And so, yeah, I don't think I'm a hugely positive person, but I do think I'm a hugely optimistic person. And I use the optimism to create positivity around me. And because I'm optimistic, I often create positivity in other people as well, because I give them the self-belief that I have. And so, yeah, it's an interesting one, because I don't really, even though I can be negative, I don't really like negativity, but I think it's that I don't like the pessimism, you know. And the other thing is I am also a fixer, to the point where sometimes when people come to me and they start moaning about a thing, you know, sometimes I have to go, do you want me to fix this for you? Because otherwise I get really fucked off when I give people advice and then they don't listen to me. And that's nothing to do with me. That's up to them to listen or not. But because I've taken the time to give the advice, I'm like, if you're not going to listen, like, and then I won't give advice next time. But I have restorative, which is the fixing strength at 12, so it's just outside my top 10, which is why it still impacts me a lot. I will, if people are willing to experiment and try the things, I will help you until like pigs fly over the moon.
This is why your consultancy is great.
Yeah, yes, exactly. This is why I like consulting, because you got a problem, I'm gonna fix it for you. I'll take an hour and I'll fix that problem, and I'll give you a shitload of you know, resources and ways around it. But I can't be a coach because I just can't stand people whining or being like, oh, I don't want to do this. Okay, don't do it then. Don't fucking ask me then. Do you know what
Whereas
I mean?
I would take the time to be like, okay, where does that come from?
Yeah, no, fuck that. I don't care where it comes from. Fix the fucking problem or don't. It's not my issue. Like, this is why I am a consultant and you are a coach. Yeah, so like, I am, and it comes because there are some members of my family who are a bit like this. They complain and complain and complain, and then they are not willing to do anything to resolve this situation, and it just pushes my buttons because I'm like, I will listen to anybody complain about anything as long as you're going to do something about it. And that does come because I'm such an action driven, like fixer orientated person. But yeah, so that is that is the negativity, and I can't even remember what the thing was.
Negativity, reviews, and
rejection. So the other thing is the other thing that happens is I quite like a different type of negativity. So there is one type of negativity that I really like, and that's when somebody tells me I can't do something, because I'm like, you fucking watch me now, bitch.
What's that gif with like the little cartoon girl? Is it from like Bob's Burgers where it's like fire in the background? It's like,
yeah, exactly. I am not trying to advertise the fact that this is a way to get me to do something, but it really fucking is. Like, in a minute, like, and I know you've done it to me, and it really annoys me because, like, I try so hard not to do then the thing that I know that you're making me do by telling me that I can't do it, but I just can't.
The trick is to like sound really genuine, as if like I'm concerned about you and you can't do it. If I just say like, oh, you can't do it, it's nothing. But if I'm like, no, Sacha, I'm really worried about you, you can't do this, you're like, well, fucking move out of the way.
Yeah. See ya, as I like clear the path and juggernaut my way through. But yeah, so like, unfortunately, reverse psychology really does work on me, and it is the rebel thing. It is because somebody's telling me I can't, so I absolutely must do it, and it is just because I cannot abide people saying I can't do shit. So yeah, and then in terms of negative reviews, it's really interesting because I don't always give a shit about the negative reviews. It's sometimes where, and I think I've mentioned this on this podcast before, people will do a really personal attack that I find difficult, and they do have an impact on me. But for the most part, I do read all my reviews, and like positive or negative. Oh, hello, throat. That was throaty.
There's that frog.
Yeah, but one thing I really want to do with the negative reviews is use them in advertising, and I just haven't quite plucked up the confidence yet. I've got a few that are like, this book would have been amazing if it weren't for the swearing, and I'm like, I want to use that because like that will really appeal to some people, but I haven't quite got up the balls to do it yet. Yeah, I mean, I don't really pay much attention, like when the 1 stars come in. doesn't really make a difference. One thing that happened to me recently is that I was a victim of an attack on Goodreads. Somebody else was being attacked, and I think because I was associated to that person, some of my books got attacked, and there were just like strings of 1-star reviews, and then there were weirdly strings of 5-star reviews that like I don't really understand, you know, from a load of accounts that were like brand new that had read like 5 other books and stuff. And I stewed. I didn't know whether or not to like say something, make a comment, because obviously I was like really worried about what the impact of that would be. What if people thought something bad about me because of...
I've seen authors destroyed with that.
Yeah, this is what I mean. And where I got to was that I would turn it into a positive. And I wrote out a load of like a post about how to deal with reviews, how to get reviews, how to deal with like attacks on reviews. And then I was going to encourage people to leave reviews on my books, like honest, genuine reviews. And I just haven't got around to posting it. There's like, I need to write like another 1,000 words in the back end of it. I've got like the structure of the post and I just haven't done it. And now the time has passed and I kind of feel less angry about the situation. But yeah, so I mean, I try to, if something shit happens, I try to use it in a positive way. So like that thing, I will eventually post out this massive post, and that means I'll have used it in a positive way. When things happen that are negative, I'm like, well, what can I take out of this situation? What can I learn from this situation? How can I make sure this doesn't happen again? But that is the optimism. And so, yeah, I just think it's interesting to draw that line between optimism and positivity and like negativity and pessimism. So yeah,
I do want to just add one thing on that, because you kind of I don't know, triggered by some of the stuff you said. One really useful resource that I found was, I attended, there was at the place I used to work, they had a guy come in and there's a book called The Art of Being Brilliant, and they did like a mini course on that.
Yes, I've read it. It's amazing.
It's awesome. But one of the biggest principles I took out of that was there are 3 types of people. There are the 1%, there's obviously the people in the middle, and then there's like mood hoovers. And it's the mood hoovers that really, really got me, because when they were talking about mood hoovers, they basically said that mood hoovers are the people who, let's use the office example, walk around the office, and the minute they start talking to you, you just feel drained, because it's negative this, it's negative that, like it's never positive. No matter what you say, there's always something to complain about. And from that, I've cut dozens of mood hoovers from my life, because you just get to a point where you're like, I like you as a person. I don't like spending any time with you because you don't in any way like enhance my day. And that feels really, really crass. But like, there are those people that just moan, and no matter what you say, like when you say the people that are just self-defeating and they don't want to be fixed because they have their wall of excuses. I just can't put myself around those people. But it is a very, very good book, just to kind of, because it teaches, it's not a case of forcing yourself to be the perfect positive person. It's a case of capitalizing on the positivity and just changing how you view certain things, so you're aware of how you're affecting others around you.
Like I said, I am not positive every single day. Like some days we get on sprints like yesterday, and like I'm like, I have to excuse myself and leave because I was in such a bad mood. Turns out I was hangry yesterday, but that wasn't the point. Literally, I put food in my mouth, and like 3 minutes later I was like, hi.
Like Jacqueline freaking Hyde, like went into a sprint with this thundercloud and came out of a ray of sunshine. I was like, what happened? I had a Snickers bar.
Oh my god, it was so funny. I was like poisonous yesterday morning, and then I was like, I'm just gonna break fast and eat, and then like surprise, I was fine. Anyway,
good question.
Cool. I'm glad you liked it. Also, just on the Art of Being Brilliant, I recommend the audiobook, because they narrate, or one of them narrates it, and he's really funny. So
yes.
We've done question of the week. How are we leveling up our business this week?
I
am going to work on the audiobook. That's it. Full stop.
I have a lot of reading to do this week. I'm just trying to choose what I can commit to.
I try to read 3 books a week at the moment.
Just 'cause you're fucking insane. I'm very sweary on this episode. I'm sorry for anyone listening.
I haven't done it this week though. Oh wait, no, we haven't finished the week. Yeah, I might still do it. I actually don't know how many books I've read.
Need to start doing final edits to the Omen's Call anthology, and contacting all of the people who didn't make it, and that's where I'm going to go.
That is not reading. What happened there?
Well, no, it is reading because I have to go through the stories and like sort out edits and stuff.
Oh, okay. So what was that again?
So I'm gonna. I don't know how to word it. I'll word it in
Slack
written form.
Cool.
So it'll be on the thing.
All right. So audience question of the week: how do you handle negativity, rejection, and bad reviews? And that's it.
We'll see you next week.
Yeah, we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Hungry for more?
If you enjoyed this podcast, you can hear more of my angelic accent and Dan's dulcet tones on our other podcasts.
For more of me, check out the Great Writer Share podcast.
For more of me, listen to the Rebel Author podcast. We'll be back next week holding each other to account as Dan
And Sacha
become
Next level.
authors.
Did you hear those clicks?
I still cannot fathom
know
why
what
I
it
did
was.
that, where that came from. Just also why it doesn't hurt, but it seems to hurt other people.
Can you do this? You can't do it either. That's so weird. So I thought Oh my god. So I thought Chloe was just a Fruit Loop. Apparently not everybody can do it. Okay. And it's a TikTok. Yeah, but
Aww.
look, I can like put my finger like over.
You know what like is really fucking annoying is the fact that now that you've done that, I'm going to spend the next 4 weeks working on it.
You go, bro. You can't even touch them. So, okay. So just to explain this randomness, it was a TikTok and Chloe was like, can you do this? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, what? And she's like trying to get her fingers to touch. And I'm like, what are you on about? Everybody can do this. She's like, no, they can't. She definitely couldn't. So it looks like you can't either. It's so funny.
We're so close as well. That's torturous.
I mean, you're really not that. Is that really the closest you can get? I don't understand. That's so weird. Like, look, I can even get my index fingers over there, like without.
Yeah, not everyone is born with malleable claws. Some of us don't have flexible talons.
I am super. I am super flexible. This is the truth. I then like.
There's a difference between being flexible and having spaghetti fingers.
No, like I text my neighbors and they were like, "You're weird," and I'm like, "No, wait, let me explain. Here's a TikTok," and so they could both do it, and I was like, "See, Chloe, see, you're just a weirdo," and then like. Everything got a bit excessive and I was then sending pictures of like me touching my ear to my head and like stuff like it was just a bit much and then like they was yeah, that's easy.
What? Do yours again?
What do you mean? Like that?
So, no.
Yeah, that's not hard. Well, I don't understand.
Your little finger's delaying.
Yeah, because I'm trying to watch you and I'm watching myself and I'm all confused.
Just that.
What are we doing? Yeah, I can do that too.